Hello, welcome to another video here. So this week we were focused on learning more about blueprints, getting into being a game developer, and focusing on some of the most important aspects of games, things that you do all the time and hardly even notice, and that is interactivity and feedback to the player. So I just want to give a quick demonstration, hopping right straight in to what I did, and then we'll talk about the coding briefly on what I have and why it does and what it does. So go ahead and hit play. Full screen there for you. Looks like it's locked. I wonder if one of the bookshelves has something that I can use. Cool, and that's it. Just keeping it super simple and brief. Obviously, there's imperfections in it, the doorway swinging, a few other things that might aesthetically not make sense. This is from the Edith Finch set. So in Unreal Engine, you're able to download these assets for free. They are meant to be put together a certain way for a certain look. If you haven't played the game, if you have, then you probably recognize some of these assets here. But I was just trying to do my best to put some of the things together. Disclaimer, I haven't seen or played the game, so I don't really know. Maybe some things look correct, maybe they don't. I just used this skin or material from the Quixel bridge and just made it so it looked a little bit more realistic here. And then I did grab some of the ceilings and then created my own for the other parts that I kind of added together here. So you're seeing probably a lot of other pieces going on, what they are. This just helps with being able to showcase, well, it's called sphere reflection capture, so it just helps basically make the area look prettier. These are point lights, just gives light to the area. We'll go ahead and try and hit this. This looks darker if you don't use that. And then these boxes you see are trigger points. So let's talk about the first one here. We have our door, and it is a blueprint. We go to the blueprint for that door, and we are using two custom events, open door and closed door. Have it set up to play a 2D sound for a door that I found online for free. You play that sound, and then it updates for the rotation on the z-axis, and there's an interpolation to close and open the door, and that percentage is being calculated by this timeline. And then if you press it again, it's going to do a reverse for the closed door. So we're going to go to this timeline here. Starts at 0 with a value of 0. At 1 minute, or sorry, 1 second and a half, it's going to have a value of 1, so 100%. So it's going to go from 0 to 100% over the value of a second. From this door, we then have, let's go back here so I can just show it, a doorway prompt. This is different than what we're looking at, but we have a secret trigger, and this here is the remote button trigger for the door. So we go to the door, and we can see upon overlapping, entering the trigger zone, you're going to render through a variable the bookshelf. You're going to set the text to be the bookshelf interaction variable. Upon leaving, you're going to end the text of the bookshelf interaction text. You're going to enable input. When they're inside the trigger, you're going to disable input so they can't press E, for example, wherever. And the interaction they can do is by pressing E. It's going to activate. It's call that custom event that we created earlier. And then pressing again, it's going to deactivate through the variable of the remote button. The remote button in this case is the moving bookshelf. So we're going to go to the moving bookshelf, and we show The event begin play, this is going to be important to review later, but basically event begin play is saying that we're going to get the player controller, we're going to get the view of where they're at, and we're going to set the player view target. And that's also a variable that we've created. So let's look at this again. You have activate. We're calling the activate function or custom event. We're then going to set view target with blend. This has to deal with the cameras, get the controller player, and the variable for the bookshelf view target. There's going to be a slight delay, and that timeline of the delay is going to be 0 to 0.5 seconds. And upon that delay, on the y-axis, we're going to have it change by 30. The reverse of it's going to be the deactivate that we talked about earlier. And there's also then, upon being finished, it's going to have a slight delay, get the player controller again, with the variable the view target of the door. It's going to change its view to the camera where the door is at. It's going to delay, and it's going to have an enum, which allows us to be able to toggle back and forth between the forward movement for opening the door event and closing the door event with that variable that we can choose from there. And then lastly, it ends with getting the player controller again, sets the target to player view target. And that's where we know from here we want this to happen at the beginning, but then this helps us also know this is ultimately where we're trying to get it to go back again. And then something I added here as well after a little bit more research, because I don't want every single time you walk through the trigger points that I've created to keep saying the same voice lines over and over, especially after you already opened the door, because you don't need that information anymore. So after all that's been done, it's going to destroy the actors, which are the variables for the hallway trigger box and the door prompt trigger box. And these are all set up as actors except the door that's being referenced as the blueprint for the door. So looking at the blueprint door, like we talked about, this is going to play the sound, it does its timeline, it does the movement for it. We go to the remote trigger. Upon entering you can do it, upon leaving you're not able to do it. This is the key that you can do to interact with the object. And then your hallway trigger, super simple. When you walk inside it, which we see right here, hallway trigger is just going to begin a sound that plays the hallway prompt. Door prompt basically does the same thing as we saw earlier, plays the sound, it plays the sound, shows the text. Sound right here shows the text. So we'll just give the example real quick, jumping back in. Walk in, shows the text, plays the sound.
Looks like it's locked.
So now that we have all these different things set up, that allows us to create a very, very simple one-dimensional level where you walk in. Also, upon playing, I just wanted to note you have a print that just says welcome to game 218 for school project. So just very simple blueprints that show where to go, what to interact with, and more or less what to do. The other thing that I just want to talk about is, okay, well, where are you connecting the variables at? So when we click on these triggers here that help us know, you go to the default section where these pop up. Keep in mind, these need to have the eye icon so you can see it. If you toggle it where it's shut, you won't see it in this option. So the text render, this guy, the text that's where it's being displayed, is showing through this guy. That's how we know what text we want it to show when it pops up. For example, if I grab the other bookshelf one, it would pop up all the way at the bookshelf, but not here. That's obviously not what we want. So we have the door prompt one, and then the text that we want is locked. And we leave the second one blank because when they leave, we don't want any text showing. You could have it leave and have like maybe a question mark next to the door key and hinting to the players, say, hey, come check this out, see what it does. So that's what I've been working on in a project. I'll keep learning a little bit more blueprints and share with what I've done.